Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 3 and episode number 315 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah! Today, recording day is Monday, February 12th, 2024, and it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. We have a little bit of a bite for you on this Monday morning, but first, let's thank our podcast's founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing and CanadianTarot.com, and ask Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health doing today, sir?
Well, good morning, Mr. Beaver, and mental health-wise, I think I'm doing pretty good, honestly. Yeah, I didn't have the greatest night's sleep, but woke up feeling ready to take on the world. Whether or not I have the energy to do that is different, but I felt like taking on the world. So,
Good. We like that. We love it, energetic Grizzly.
well, I try from time to time, and occasionally I do succeed. I fail more than I succeed, but that's okay. I'm only human.
All right. Good morning to the kids who have joined us. Kit Ellen, Kit Elaine, Kit Wishful, hello, Kit Jillian, Kit Dan, Kit Kendra, Kit Hugh, Kit Cassie, Kit Linda M, also joining us. And of course, Austin, who apparently just farted on Dan. So there you go.
Dogs do that sometimes.
Dogs do that. Oh, Kit Mike H popping in with the morning all. Morning to you too. I am doing well. I had a great weekend, had a wonderful podcast, had a bit of an adventure getting home.
I saw that, yeah.
Yes.
Nice of them to let you know. Oh, by the way, we've moved the stop. It's in this little tiny print down here that if you don't,
Like super, super tiny little print with like no bold letters, nothing on it saying, hey, you might want to look here, nothing that would, because if you ride an intercity bus or ride an intercity train, now it's hard for them to move the train station on you.
Yeah.
But intercity bus, when you always take the same bus, you just get your ticket, say the ticket came in, and then you just go to your bus stop. Well, apparently they moved the bus stop.
And didn't really make a big deal about it by,
That was
informing people.
It's actually written on the ticket,
Oh, yeah?
the same part that you would see normally on the ticket, but there's nothing saying, hey, but when you take the bus all the time, you get the confirmation email. I see my QR code saying I got a ticket. I don't press on it to read the ticket.
No, they should have
because I have taken this bus many times now. So it's just okay. I got the confirmation email. I know where to go. Well, and I wasn't the only one. There were 4 of us.
Yeah, that's
I
what
think
you said,
I
yeah.
think somebody might have been there to pick someone up, maybe. But there were 4 of us there, and I was super proud of myself because I'd actually gotten to the stop before the bus was there. So I'm thinking, look at me, man. I am so organized. Because normally I get there and the bus is still waiting and people are boarding because it's literally 7 minutes walk from my place.
Right.
But I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I'm up a little early. It's not cold out. So I'm not like minus 15. I can wait outside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm there like this. And, and the bus stop was, wow, it's not even here yet, man. I am so organized. Man, all the people at the rehearsals in Kingston that I'm supposed to go to are going to be so impressed with me. Getting my shit together like that. And it's like, well, the bus should be here by now. And I'm like looking at it on the GPS thing, and it's in the area,
Mm-hmm.
sort of, and I'm thinking, okay, well, it's just running a little late and, doing more stuff. And then it's like, okay, it really should have been here by now. And then I'm looking at it and the bus is going the wrong way. I'm like, but you haven't picked us up yet. Why are you already on the road? And then one of the 4 people turned around at some point. We were talking to each other and says, well, yeah, I saw the thing that said 200 Commissioner, right? This is Commissioner. It's like, no, this is 83 George.
Yeah, there's a difference.
The 200 Commissioner is about a 15 to 20 minute walk away.
Yeah. Nice of them
Like
to
I
let you know.
actually would have had to take a bus to get to the bus pickup spot, which means that my planning departure time from my condo would have been completely different. But apparently, all we get is we got the big confirmation, and there's like tiny, 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 tiny little letters that say where the new plane is, and with nothing saying, "Hey, you might want to be aware that we moved your stop."
That's the thing. Just when you purchased your ticket, they should say, "Please take note. The location for your pickup has changed."
Yeah, and that should be on for something like 6 months because not everybody takes it twice a week or every week.
Mhm.
Like some people take it once a quarter. But it's like when you're booking, it's like Ottawa to Kingston. Please note, right on the booking page, you could put it there.
Yeah.
When you get
Yeah.
your confirmation email,
Agreed.
please note on your ticket, put a big circle on it, put some flashes here it is. Remember, nothing.
Well, in their defense,
And on the website itself, it says the bus now stops here,
Mhm.
not your pickup spot has changed. So it's sort of well,
it's a little misleading.
well, back in the day when I used to come back from Montreal, the bus would stop at the University of Ottawa before going to the terminus.
Mhm. Yeah.
And some buses wouldn't, and it would tell you. So it's like, okay, so the bus stops here now. Great. For people who are getting off at that part of downtown, they can get off the bus. Great. It doesn't say the bus doesn't go or pick up from it anymore. It just says it stops here now. Which is
I mean, in their defense,
great.
they did tell you, but they didn't make it blatantly obvious.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, you can't say they didn't tell you, but it's but there was absolutely nothing that would draw your attention to it whatsoever.
And that's the mistake on their part for sure. It should be blatantly obvious.
Yes. So a $32 ride home ended up costing me over $100.
Well, that sucks.
Because I had to buy another ticket because I still had to get back.
Yeah.
And of course, that ticket was bought at the last minute, less than an hour before departure.
Yeah. And that was Megabus or Flixbus?
The Flixbus is the one I got screwed on. Megabus got me home.
Okay. I haven't traveled either one of them yet, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
I'm more of a train guy myself.
The actual service on the bus is not bad on either of them.
Yeah,
quite good.
Yeah.
Like I said, they pick up from 2 different places and they have 2 different schedules, and sometimes one's more convenient than the other.
And I noticed their pricing is different too, because I was checking stuff out. It's sometimes Flix is cheaper than Mega, and sometimes it's the other way around. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
hit and miss.
Exactly. So I'm sitting there and so I wrote on Twitter about it, and they said, "Oh, we're so sorry that you were inconvenienced. We're constantly optimizing our schedules. We hope that we have a chance
to make it up to you."
Well, no, not to make it up to you, but to show you that our service is reliable again.
Oh.
Okay. And to help me with that, you will. And then so I wrote back again and I said, well, it's you probably should have made something bigger. We'll forward that on to someone, but we hope that you ride with us again.
Yeah, that's easier. You're not getting anything.
Those are so I just wrote, I said, normally when somebody has a terrible customer service experience like that, a company usually does something to incentivize someone to attempt their product or service again, particularly when there's an alternative in the market that someone could go to.
Which I
bring
did.
of us.
Yeah.
It's really? And then I got, oh, well, yeah, write something here and maybe we'll. So they weren't going to proactively offer it.
No, of course not.
I was
It's
sitting
like
there,
they took your money, but you didn't get to ride.
I was like, hello? Really?
Mm-hmm.
And there are 4 of us?
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. That's their
Like, if it was only
acknowledgement.
me, that would be one thing.
Yeah.
Turn around, well, gee, you should have known everybody else did, but there were 4 of us.
Yeah.
4 of us don't make the same mistake unless there's something wrong at your end.
Yeah, this is what Linda's saying here. Sounds like they've gotten this feedback before and decided they're not giving out any more compensation. And I think that sounds about right.
That could be the case, but anyway, I am going to send that little letter to them and say, yeah, and it's like, people these days, like, often they don't refund, they just give you a credit. It's like, well, I am going to be going back at some time.
Yeah.
You could put the value of that on an account and, because, hey, hopefully you'll ride with us again. We've credited your account. Please ride with us again. Give us a chance to make it up to you.
I guess
I
not.
swear, man. It's like PR 101. If somebody took the time to actually write about it in a public forum where everyone can see it, show yourselves being a good, like, the amount of benefit. Oh, well, look at this. The company proactively offered him something. Like, that's worth a lot of dollars in advertising, way more than the $32 for the ticket. It's like, you missed an opportunity here, people.
Well, catching, I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl at all last night.
I normally do not watch the Super Bowl. I only watch for the halftime performance most of the time. And of course, the really tight pants. But yesterday I was out with my beaver sweetie, and I saw at one point that it was the 49ers that were winning. And then I saw at one point later on, and it's like, oh, they're starting to come back. Okay. And then I looked just before I was going to go to bed. Oh, it's 16-16. There's only 5 minutes left. I guess I'll tune in and watch some Super Bowl for the first time to see what's going on and I wasn't going to watch for the football really because I'm a political guy and I'm thinking, everybody's making these jokes. Oh yeah, the Chiefs are going to lose and then Taylor Swift is going to dump him and then she's going to write a song about it, right? So I'm thinking, I don't know about you, but I don't want this to end. I don't want a song right now because just her being around is causing such epic meltdowns. So I figured I'd watch I figured I'd watch the end of it. And I have to say, first of all, I've never seen 5 minutes take so long to end the game. But then, of course, they had the overtime with new rules in the NFL for the first time. And I don't know much about football, but I actually like that rule that both teams get a possession. If it's tied, then the first
not
score.
Exactly the rule, though. That's the CFL. Both teams get a possession. In the NFL, so let's say if Kansas City kicks the ball off to San Fran and San Fran runs it in for a touchdown, game is over.
Yes.
Sudden death in that sense.
If
they score a field goal, which is what they did, the game carries on. So if Kansas City had kicked a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown, they just would have went on to another 15 minutes of play.
Yes. Yep. Right. So, but I'm watching that and I'm like, okay, all of a sudden you need to be a big play. And then there's that 22-yard catch by Kelsey, which then allows for that first down to happen. And then they get to 1st and goal. And I'm sitting there and it's like again, I don't know much about football, but somebody's got to go wide into a corner and just like pitch one to him. And of course, Mahomes does that little deke move that gets the guy that was covering him to look the other way, kind of disappeared behind the crowd and then bolted right to the corner and boom, we got a pass. I was like, gee, maybe I should be a football coach because they did exactly what I thought they should do. Yeah, I was kind of happy, not only because, well, first of all, Chiefs have won 2 in a row, and that's the first time since I think 2003, 2004, the Patriots.
That's right.
Have won 2 in a row, and they have a chance to make it 3, which is very rare. As I'm not sure if that's ever happened, or has it happened just once?
The Steelers won, I think, 4 in a row back in the 70s, if memory serves.
Yeah. But now I'm just like sitting there like, hold on to your hats, folks, because there's going to be an epic Taylor meltdown and see all the people go, she did it. She won the Super Bowl. And I'm thinking that's going to piss a lot of people off right there.
Well, that's why I said congratulations to Taylor Swift and the Kansas City team for winning the Super Bowl.
Yes. And I totally missed Usher.
It was he put on a good show. It was entertaining. And he had a lot of people out there with him, Little John and Alicia Keys, her. Yeah, it was good. It was they put on a good show. I really enjoyed it. It was the most entertaining part of the first half of the game because the first half was boring. The first quarter was a shutout, no score after the first 15 minutes. The fourth quarter was the whole game and overtime because up until that point it was a snore fest, man. It really was boring as hell. It's kind of like a few years back when everybody says, "Oh, the greatest game ever was when it was the Atlanta Falcons and they lost to New England, who came back to win it all." I go, "No, that was the greatest fourth quarter. The game up until that point was boring." Last night was the same thing. It was a boring game until the fourth quarter, and then it got interesting in the last few minutes.
Okay, so I tuned in at the right time.
You really did. I mean, up until that point, you didn't miss much. It was a defensive game, and I mean, kudos to defense on both teams to hold the score as low as they did. But it's not exciting football. It really isn't.
Yeah, because when I first I just like tuned in on the scoreboard and I thought it was 3-0, and then as soon as I tuned in, it was like it just switched to, oh, okay, somebody just scored a touchdown, 9-0. Oh, 10-0. Okay. And I'm thinking, okay, it's not. And again, I know no one from it. The only reason I know of the word Mahomes is because last year, because last year, see, I don't know. And the only reason I know about Kelsey, and I knew about Kelsey before Taylor. No, before Taylor, because last year the two Kelseys played against each other. It was the first time brothers played against each other in a Super Bowl, and one of them retired, and the one that Taylor is dating is still playing. So there you go. But that's about all I know. But I talked the sports ball today.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I got to hang with the dudes.
It was I'm watching the game and I'm kind of like, oh my God, come on, just somebody score. This is boring.
It used to be like curling matches back in the day before they had the guard zone.
I don't know what that is, but sure.
Well, now they have you're allowed, if you have rocks that are not in the house, you're not allowed to take them out to try to create some stuff that you can go around and that protects, because before curling used to be put a rock in the house, somebody tries to take it out, and does put a rock in the house, someone takes it out. So basically it was put a rock in the house, hope someone misses the takeout, put one on the other side, score your 2, and that's your game, 2-0, boom.
It's almost tic-tac-toe at that point, right?
It literally was for the longest time. And people loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, people loved it. They watched it like crazy. But the guard zone makes it much more interesting. Now you've got like tap backs and come arounds, and where it was just like put one in, try to take it out, and hope someone misses somewhere along the way.
Now you're speaking sports ball to me.
Yep.
I don't know curling.
There you go. So anything that gives an opportunity for offense and more interesting shots, I'm good with.
I did catch. So you know how we don't get to see the best commercials, right? Because it's simultaneous substitution. So what happens is we get the Canadian commercials, and there were a couple of good ones last night, actually. Truth be told, they did spend some money, not $7 million for 30 seconds, but they spent some money. But I did happen to catch one this morning, which we can't show. It's
no, we're not
for Dunkin' Donuts, and it features J-Lo in the studio, along with Matt Damon and Ben Stiller and Tom Brady.
Okay, I
have a link to it here. I will. I'll copy the link and I'll put it in the chat for anybody who wants to have a look at it, and I'll send it directly to you too, sir. It's really funny. I'm not going to lie. I really thought it was good. It's well done. It's really well done.
Yeah,
we can't show it because they'll shut us down if we show it for copyright infringement, which is weird because it's an ad, but that's how it is. I mean, case in point, when we ran over Christmas, when we did recorded a week's worth of shows, and we put in the ads for the choral group that you're a part of.
Melos, yes.
Melos. We got copyright violations for showing the commercial.
That we had permission to show.
Yeah. It's the way the algorithm works, though,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, no, and those are not actually filed by the copyright holder.
no,
YouTube often files them automatically, and then you
that's
got
right.
to show them that you have the right, which we will do. But
Which you know what, I can appreciate YouTube. They're actually doing the right thing in that instance, right?
yeah,
They are trying to protect somebody else's intellectual property. So
yep,
I can respect that. It's just a bit
right,
of a pain in the arse.
absolutely, absolutely. Since we're speaking the sports, let's keep on speaking the sports. Right now, the World Aquatics Championships are going on, and this happened before the World Aquatics Championships. But everybody, if you haven't heard about it, you've been living under a rock. But Summer McIntosh finally beat Katie Ledecky
Mhm.
in an 800-meter race. I think it was the first time in 13 years that Ledecky lost
Yes.
a race, and beat her by about 6 seconds. So you have our friend Devin Haru who's going crazy about that.
It
Just
was a
says this,
massive defeat. Like that 6 seconds in a pool. That's
yep,
like an hour.
that's a lot. That's a lot. And the World Aquatics Championship started soon after, and Canada has 3 medals already. There are 2 medals in what's called they're artistic swimming now, which
Mhm.
the older people among us might recognize as synchronized swimming. Um, it happened in the solo category. We have a lady named
Which
Jacqueline
is why
Simoneau.
you can't call it synchro when it's one person.
Yes, yes.
Solo synchro. What? That it but you're not synchronized if it's just one person.
So she won the silver, I believe it
Yeah.
was, in the technical routine, and got the gold in the what we would call the free routine back in the day. There's another word name for it now, um, I think it's our first medal since 2011 at the
Oh wow.
Worlds.
Really?
Now, yeah, in the discipline. Now, or at least in solo, if I'm not sure the others. However, unfortunately, this doesn't do much for the Olympics because the Olympics removed the solo categories a couple of years ago in
Yeah.
exchange for the whole team one, where there's they do some pretty incredible stuff. They do lifts where they push people outside the water. They do flips in the air and stuff now, and because they're able to have like 8 or 9. I'm not sure if it's 8 or 12 in the team like this, but and they can do platforms that support people, and then they can jump off them. And it's really spectacular now if you haven't
Mhm.
watched it in the longest time. And it seems that the artistic swimming team and the duet spots for Paris Olympics, Canada has qualified with the results there. So that's a quite interesting element there. And water polo has started. The men did not make the world championship this year. The team did not qualify to participate, but the women have, and they've been doing pretty well so far. They finished second in their pool and won their first playoff game, so they'll be playing against Spain in the quarterfinal, which Spain is a pretty good team.
Mm.
So Hungary is probably the best one for the women, along with the United States. But they'll be playing against Spain, and if they can defeat them, then they'll be going off to the semifinals, and they will be top 4 in the world. But they're one of the top 8 teams in the world right now,
Oh wow.
which is very good for our Canadian women here in water polo. And then in golf, we had Nick Taylor
Yeah,
once
he won.
again.
Won a title.
Yeah, he won a title. So Nick Taylor is the guy that won the Canadian Open last year on Canadian soil, breaking a long drought there too. And yesterday it was at the Phoenix Open, we'll call it. I believe it's called like the Waste Management Phoenix Open or something. We'll just call it the Phoenix Open. But yes, he finished tied with another player, Andrew Novak. And but along the way, he scored a record, a course-breaking 60 in the first round on a par 72, I think it was, course. So that's that's a really, really good round. And then had 2 rounds that weren't as great, and then closed off with a 65, which got him tied. And in the playoffs, it went to a couple of holes, but he managed to outdo his opponent to win the championship. So I think that's his 4th or 5th title ever, I think, and his second one in 2 years, which is good for him. He's
Mm.
and he's only ranked about like 55th on the money
Oh yeah.
table. Yeah. So I would have thought he was higher, just considering,
Oh,
but I guess the two wins that he's had have been high profile events.
that
I
kind
would
of
guess.
thrust you into the spotlight over something
Yes.
like that.
Or maybe it's just because, he's Canadian and we're hearing about it
That could be.
as well.
That could be the case. Yeah.
Yes. So, but yeah, he's doing very, very well for himself. So, congratulations to Nick Taylor. And then over the course of the weekend, there were lots of medals for Canadians in various sports, ski cross and aerials got something, and short track speed skating. There was some more.
And I think Mikhail Kingsbury won another world title, something, and set the all-time record for skiing world titles. He just broke it recently.
Yes, the record was at 83 at some point, and he got 84, I think, last weekend or the weekend before. And I think he's like won a fourth event in a row.
Yeah, the guy's a freak of nature, and I mean that in the best possible way, because his win-loss percentage is, there's nobody on earth in any sport that even comes close. I think his win-loss percentage is something like 65% of the time he competes, he wins.
Something like that.
Nobody's even close to that in any respective sport.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was last week, record-breaking 87th win.
87th win, yeah.
Yes.
And he's not done yet.
Nope.
And you remember Alex Bilodeau, who, when he won his gold medal in Vancouver in 2010, Mikhail Kingsbury was on his way up at that point. And then it was 4 years later when he repeated his gold medal win, and he pointed and he said, "This guy right here, this is the guy who's going to be winning everything from here on out. Like, he is the guy." And he wasn't wrong about that.
No, not at all. So, yeah, I'm waiting for the Canadian Olympic Committee to do their roundup of the events this weekend, so I could actually break it down, who won what, and in what order and that type of stuff. Because sifting through all the articles on the fly is a little.
It's not that easy.
Yeah, it's not easy and it's tedious for the listeners. But essentially, it was a medal haul weekend for Team Canada, pretty much across the board. And even in other sports, we had some great results. There was in Canmore, Alberta, there was a big cross-country skiing event, which is, the place in Canada for it now, especially with the Olympic installations. And there were some wonderful results from Team Canada there. No medals, but some breakout performances, because like we mentioned before, in cross-country skiing, there's often 106, 110 entrants. So just being in the top half is great.
Oh, yeah. And these are supreme athletes, too. Their cardio is off the charts.
Right, exactly. And so when you get, like in downhill skiing, when you finish top 30, you get points.
Yes, that's right.
Ranking points. And so top 30, I mean, if you're not going to win, top 30 is the goal. And we had some Canadians do that here on home soil, which was nice. Men and women score some top 30s. And even in biathlon, which was not held here, but we had someone score a top 20, which is, again...
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
For us, that's pretty interesting. So we're having some athletes now that are in sports that are not traditional strong points for us, that are making some inroads. Maybe not in medal contention yet in time for 2026, but maybe on a surprise day. You never know, right? A lot of these sports are any given Sunday type events.
Well, surprise day, taking case Penny Alexiak. She wasn't expected to finish in the top 10 in the Olympics the first time she went out at 16 and won, 2 golds, a silver and a bronze, or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You never know what'll come up. Or the Billie Jean King Cup just last winter, we had Marina Stekusic, ranked 230 something in the world, and she just went on a tear where she was beating top 100 players left, right, and center, which led to... So you never know when someone's going to go hot.
Well, you could have, it's just on any given day, you could just peak, and that's it. I have something interesting here I want to share with you and the kids that I don't know if you have seen, and I've got some issues with this individual. And I'll explain why in a moment after I show you this screen. This is from Holly Doan writing an article about the president of the CBC.
Okay. The singer Holly Doan?
No. Holly Doan
Okay.
from Blacklocks, I think is.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. I see the name and I always think the singer too right away.
Yeah. Okay.
This is reporter Holly Doan. President of the CBC ran up $119,300 in expenses, same time the network complained of immense pressure on finances. Access to information records show charges include business class junkets to Prague and Hollywood. Now, here's where I have a problem. That seems like an awful lot. I don't know. It seems like an excessive amount of expenses because that's more than I earned last year by a large margin. Number one. Number two, it was, when they released, what was it, 600 people or 400 people, I can't remember recently, lost their jobs because of cutbacks because, we have financial pressure. And then she was being interviewed by, was it Rosie Barton? I can't remember.
I believe so.
Who asked, well, will you be giving out executive pay bonuses at the end of the year? Well, that's something we need to discuss. That's a line item on the, excuse me? You're saying you're having financial difficulties, so you're firing people, but you're still getting your bonuses? No. Not cool. That's not how you do it, especially when you consider you're on the public purse. No. Why are they getting bonuses to begin with? I have a major issue with that. And I love the CBC, but that is messed up. Now, as the president, she's going to travel. She's going to do, things to try and bring in business and negotiate deals. I get it. 119,000 is a lot of money. And
not over the course of a year, though.
For the president of a major corp. Yeah, it's a lot. But I'll give it a little bit of slack. But it was the whole line item thing about bonuses when you're letting people go. People have lost their livelihood and you're still going to get a bonus?
Yeah.
No.
I hear you. If you have to fire people,
you cut the bonuses so that you can keep people's jobs, period. Well, people rely on those bonuses. People rely on their jobs. So, yeah, I got an issue. Major issue.
Yep. It's legit. It's legit. And we have the same thing going on with Bell as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're getting bigger dividend checks for shareholders and all the executives will get bonuses, but they just fired 4,800 people.
That shouldn't be happening either.
No. It's greed. Plain and simple.
I'm just... I know, long arm of the government and all that kind of stuff, and you can't, but you would think that there would be, some basic rules.
Well, I mean, the optics on that alone are stupid, right? When you consider you've got the CPC, this CPC president's testimony is going to be broken into sound bites on CPC election ads to scrap the CBC. This is when the president of the CBC should be paying attention to actually what is happening in this country right now, with people calling for defunding your organization. Maybe not fire people, maybe not spend money on bonuses, maybe take a pay cut. You're going to tell me you can't afford it? You paid more in taxes last year than I earned. Take the hit. It's called optics. And greed is never a good optic.
Yeah. And it's 1 year. Seriously, 1 year. You could take a hit 1 year.
It's, I'm mad. I am. I'm really mad about this.
And I'm right with you with there. I'm right with you. Like I said, I just don't understand why that's not a standard. If you're, have to do massive layoffs, there is no stock option bonus. There is no increase to shareholders.
Nope.
There is there is no bonus that year.
Yeah, she's entitled to her entitlements. Yeah.
Well, that's what they always keep on saying, right? Like this, we have to maintain some competitiveness with the private sector, or else we won't get the best. Just anyway, like I said, that's a rule. That's a rule change I would definitely be in favor of.
Why are they getting bonuses? You're on the public dime.
Yep.
shouldn't be getting bonuses.
Yep.
Sorry, if you don't like it, too bad. I disagree with it. Look, Bell, I have an issue with, but they're a private corp. Now, they did take government money.
Yep.
So, pretty greasy what they did. But they're a private corporation. CBC is public. So, it's not cool.
Yeah. There's interesting that you mentioned that because the minister in charge of the CBC, Pascal Saint-Onge, got into it
with
PeePee the other day on Twitter because Pierre Poilievre is representing that $40 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we were talking about as being money that the Liberals gave CBC. So you had Pierre Poilievre put out Bell. Sorry, yes. So you have Pierre Poilievre putting out this tweet here that I'll put up for you to show, Mr. Grizzly.
Just a second.
He clips the screen cap of the article that says Trudeau pissed off by Bell Media's garbage decisions to lay off journalists because the Prime Minister came out and made a powerful moment of it. And hopefully I will find that too, because to watch Doug Ford behind him is priceless. The Prime Minister said it's a garbage decision. And then you have Pierre Poilievre that tweets, Mr. Grizzly,
if you're so pissed off at Bell for the layoffs, why don't you demand Bell give back the government handout you gave them to save media jobs?
All right. And then Pascal Saint-Onge responded with,
fact check, it was your party who brought the amendment to eliminate $40 million in fees for Bell at committee. Liberals voted against it. This one is on you. As you can see, your policies are bad for workers and for journalism. So I don't fully follow what transpired in that interaction.
Okay. So basically,
I need you to explain it to me, really, seriously. I'm not following.
The decision to eliminate $40 million in fees was a decision that was made in committee. So when you have a bill, right, or when you're looking at, how would I put it? Every department ministry has some type of committee.
Right.
And usually most committees have majority government membership, but we have a minority parliament here. So there are certain committees in which Liberals will have a majority, and there's some of them on which they have a minority. This is one where they have a minority, it would seem. So at committee, for example, when a bill passes second reading, it goes back to committee almost for a clause-by-clause reading where there will be amendments presented, and that it will come back as a third reading bill that people will vote on, and that's the one that then goes to the Senate for royal assent if it passes. But in committee, they'll also discuss rules and regulations, regulatory changes and stuff like that don't necessarily have to be voted on, but still need to be published. So it seems that in committee, there was an amendment somewhere brought along, and it was proposed by the Conservatives to eliminate those $40 million in fees. So that $40 million that everybody's saying that Bell got from the government and then wasted, it seems it wasn't even a Liberal idea to begin with.
Okay, so it was conservative.
It was a conservative idea. They brought it to committee. Liberals voted against it, and clearly it passed.
See, that's where I misunderstood it. I understood it as the other way around. That's why I was like, huh? Yeah. I don't quite follow.
Committee votes are different than, like, you'd have to go back and watch the committee proceeding, because for what's on the House of Commons, you have a Hansard, whatnot. But I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out on committee, how do you find out where committee votes are recorded, and you can look up at them. Because, again, somebody had to have voted with the Conservatives on that. Now, I can see the Bloc doing it, because when there's money for CBC, there's money for Radio Canada, right? But I can also see the New Democrats having done that,
Oh, yes.
right? And the New Democrats got in on the action a little bit too, if I remember correctly. Trying to see if I have it handy here. No, I do not. All right. So, but basically, Jagmeet Singh was also making the same accusation of the government. You give those $40 million, and it's like, Mr. Singh, if yours is the party that voted along with the Conservatives on that conservative amendment to cut, then you would have both of them again. It's almost like the democratic reform thing.
Right.
When they couldn't agree,
Right.
but they could agree to leave the flaming bag of dog poop on the prime minister's doorstep.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And hope that he would stamp it out, make it his fault. So it would seem that at least two parties, one of which could be the New Democrats, because I have no way to go look at the vote. So proposed by the Conservatives, supported by at least one other party, according to Pascal Saint-Onge, the Liberals voted against it. And now that the thing has blown up in their faces, they're claiming that the Liberals actually delivered it, because the Liberals are the government under which it happened, even though it wasn't their idea and they personally voted against it.
Yeah.
The tangled web we weave.
Indeed.
But literally, they will say absolutely anything. Anything.
Of course, they just want to win the nanosecond.
Well, because again, they don't think we'll check.
Yeah. Well, they
and
don't.
of course, it's much harder to check for committee than it is. You can go to Hansard pretty quickly if you need to. But seriously, do you know anybody in your life that takes time to say, "Hey, I need to go and check Hansard for that"?
No.
We typically don't do that, right? As citizens, to go and find out. So yeah. There's some shady stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. So I have the video clip. I have the video clip of the PM.
Oh, please. Yes.
Let me just, where did it go here? I have it here somewhere. No. Oh, there it is. Okay, so hang on a sec. I just had to pull it up. Yeah, so this is the video clip of the Prime Minister with Doug Ford voicing his angry feelings about what Bell Canada just did. So here, let's watch this little clip. It's about 2 minutes plus, and Doug Ford looking like the skipper in the background.
This was a garbage decision by a corporation that should know better. We've seen over the past years journalistic outlets, radio stations, small community newspapers bought up by corporate entities who then lay off journalists, change the offering, the quality of offering to people. And then when people don't watch as much or engage as much, the corporate entity says, oh, see, they're not profitable anymore. We're going to sell them off. This is the erosion, not just of journalism, of quality local journalism, at a time where people need it more than ever, given misinformation and disinformation, but it's eroding our very democracy. Our abilities to tell stories to each other of how people's lives are, stories that reflect our own communities and not, central offices in our biggest cities, is part of what binds this country together from coast to coast to coast. With incredible diversity of experiences, of geographies, we need those local voices. And over the past years, corporate Canada, and there are many culprits on this, have abdicated their responsibility toward the communities that they have always made very good profits off of in various ways. And they need, like, as a government, we have been stepping up over the past years, fighting for local journalism, fighting for investments that we can have, all the while fending off attacks from conservatives and others who say, no, 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 you're trying to buy off journalists. We're trying to support journalism in this country and across this country, but no government can do it alone. Canadians need to demand better, as we will be demanding better from corporate leaders, like in this case, Bell, that are eroding Canadians' ability to know each other, to trust each other, and to trust in the country and the future we are building together. So yeah, I'm pretty pissed off about what's just happened.
I believe we call that shots fired.
Yes. And if it's true that the Liberals did actually vote down that $40 million in committee, then I can see why you'd be pissed off about it specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Doug Ford in the back, clearly not happy, saw someone in post something, say, caption this, and it's like, crap, he's going to make a better moment of this than I am. There's nothing that I'm going to say after this that's going to make the news. Fuck. And here's the Jagmeet Singh tweet I was talking about.
Oh, yeah. You got it?
Yep. Right up there.
Trudeau gave Bell $40 million. No strings attached, no guarantees of jobs or local news. Bell gave it to shareholders and CEOs. They cut 4,800 jobs. A garbage decision for sure from a prime minister who feeds a bottomless pit of corporate greed.
Now, if it is true indeed that the Liberals voted against that $40 million amendment in committee and that it was proposed by the Conservatives and it passed,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say it passed with the help of the NDP, this is a particularly duplicitous tweet as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
From Mr. Singh.
He just keeps disappointing me daily.
Now, if it passed with the help of the Bloc and not with the help of the NDP,
that's fine.
Yes, shouldn't Mr. Singh saying, well, no, we had people on that committee.
Mm-hmm.
Minister Saint-Onge is telling the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's duplicitous for certain.
Yes, but he's represented it as Trudeau gave Bell $40 million, and it was an amendment they voted against. But other parties got together and passed because it's a minority government, and that can happen. So there's a lot of people here who know what the truth is, and they're fucking with us, trying to make us believe that this was a government decision that, again, Trudeau wanted to give them $40 million because allegedly, right, he's buying off the media to be his personal propaganda wing.
When they voted against it.
They voted against it. And here's the thing that I'm also not getting about the Conservatives. If the Conservatives believe that the mainstream media or the lamestream media is Trudeau's personal propaganda wing, shouldn't they be overjoyed, elated, and happy that there are 4,800 people fewer?
Well, you would think, right? But no, they're for the worker, for the common people.
And if they were literally his propaganda wing, why would they be weakening their ability to do his propaganda for him by cutting 4,800? You never go to a conservative for consistency.
No. You don't.
You don't. So, yeah. Our leaders are a little disappointing. And again, we're getting to a situation again where we keep on telling you, right? Don't compare your alternatives to the almighty. Compare them to each other.
Yeah.
Don't vote for assholes and don't vote for people who insult your intelligence. I mean, our biggest problem with democracy at now is that even though all parties stretch things and spin, there's a difference between spin and outright lying. And we have the main alternative on the left just lying and misrepresenting stuff. This is the third time now in 2 or 3 weeks that we catch him. And we got the guy on the right who his stock and trade is lies, which leaves us with just one party. Unless people are going to mass abandon the NDPs for Green and mass abandon the Conservatives for the Bloc or the PPC. The
Which,
PPC is not much better at telling the truth.
no.
So, but if we're talking about parties that tell us the truth more often than not,
Mhm.
we're left with Greens.
Yeah.
And we're left with Liberals. And if
It's-
we're talking about government in waiting or opposition in waiting, it leaves us just with the Liberals, which makes us a one-party state.
Well, you consider that the Conservative Party of Canada is the Reform Party. The Progressive Conservative Party doesn't exist anymore. And we've seen the erosion of the New Democratic Party from what it once was to what it currently is. And I'm like, what? I know people who hate the Prime Minister. And they can't put a finger on why, they just do. And I think it's because they've been told to by media. Maybe I'm wrong. I've asked friends of mine, how exactly have his policies personally harmed you or anyone you know or love? And I'm greeted with silence because they can't cite one. I know that there are people who can. I've yet to meet one, personally meet one, face to face, tell me. Now, all of that being said, I also know those same folks do not like their alternatives in the next federal election, whenever that may be, which should be October 2025, according to the mandated fixed election dates as per the Stephen Harper government in 2007.
Yes. Another thing that conservatives are trying to violate again. It's like, I want an election now. This ain't Burger King. You don't get an election just because you want one.
The timelines were mandated by your former guy
You
in
guys passed the law.
2007. Yeah.
Yes, and you didn't respect it in 2011.
No.
You called a snap election because you thought the time was right to get a majority, the exact reason for which you passed that law to try to prevent. So it's like, oh, who wants an, he says nobody wants an election now. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter if people want an election now or not. We have a law.
Mm-hmm.
The election is going to happen when the election is supposed to happen.
Period. That's why the law has been written. That's what it's there for.
Jeez. And if it doesn't, it'll be because the opposition parties did something to make it such. It's the only reason. All right. Speaking of Mr. Grizzly, another tweet up there from Pepe Von Snipes.
The Toronto Star is desperate to protect Trudeau. Instead of listening to mayors struggling with crime, they're trying to downplay the insanity of 40 individuals having 6,000 arrests or criminal incidents. This is the crime and chaos on our streets after 8 years of Trudeau.
Okay, so once again, they're trying to protect, right? Media is all in the bag for Trudeau, protecting, covering up. Well, you want to know what had PeePee in a snit? This, Mr. Grizzly.
Let's have a look at this. Oh, yes. Pierre Poilievre claims 40 offenders were arrested 6,000 times in Vancouver in a year. Is that actually true?
Somebody decided to fact check him. Well, let's see. The Conservative leader often pushes his tough-on-crime approach by relying on an eye-opening statistic. The Star investigates to see if it's true, by Raisa Patel. Ooh. A woman.
Yeah.
With a name that sounds from somewhere else.
Oh, my goodness.
That must have really pleased him.
Yeah, because he likes to speak in Anglo-Saxon terms. That's not even a dog whistle, that one.
Oh, man.
That's not even a dog whistle, that. That's just straight up saying he's a racist piece of white supremacist garbage.
Yep. Let's find out if it's true, kids and cubs. In the lead up to the next federal election, the Star is taking a look at the leaders of Canada's major federal parties and fact-checking some of their most common political slogans and talking points. Today, the Star is analyzing a claim that Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has made multiple times over the past year, that 40 offenders in Vancouver were arrested 6,000 times over the course of a single year. Many times, but not always, Pierre Poilievre says the offenders were violent or links the statistics to the issue of repeat offenders committing violent crimes while released on bail. It's a number he's thrown out at rallies, in the House of Commons, at news conferences, and on radio programs as part of an effort to paint the Liberal government as soft on crime. This week, when asked by journalists whether Poilievre's oft-used slogan, jail, not bail, meant he believed Canadians should no longer have the right to be presumed innocent, the Conservative leader said the phrase would only apply to people who had been convicted dozens of times prior to their most recent arrest.
Let me give you proof. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times in 1 year,
Poilievre said.
On average, an offender would have been arrested 150 times a year. Many of them would have had 100 arrests, and they're newly arrested for a series of violent offense and literally released within hours.
The rearrests of those 40 violent offenders are
a direct result of the Prime Minister's easy bail system,
Poilievre said during question period last March. So, are the numbers real, and is this all Trudeau's fault? Here's what you need to know. And, hold on to your hats, kids. No. Were 40 violent offenders arrested in Vancouver 6,000 times in 1 year? No. The numbers are legitimate, but they apply to something else. The figures first appeared in a letter from the BC Urban Mayors Caucus to the BC government in 2022. On Friday, when Poilievre raised the statistic again during a news conference in Surrey, he erroneously said the data came from BC Union of Mayors. You know what? If we're applying the US GOP standard, because recently Joe Biden was talking about Egypt, something that they were doing to their borders with regard to Israel and Gaza. And while he was talking about it, he said Mexico while talking about Sisi, his leader of Egypt. And everybody said, oh my God, he doesn't even know what country he's talking to. He's losing his mind. We need to get rid of him now. Blah, blah, blah. He got everything else right like this, but he just happened to be talking to two leaders of two nations with which there are border issues in the same week. And said Mexico instead of Egypt, but got the name of the leader right and everything else right. Slip of the tongue happens to all of us. Well, if Pierre said that he was with the BC Union of Mayors and not the BC Urban Mayors Caucus, well then, is he in cognitive decline?
He must be, yeah, clearly, yeah.
Just asking questions. Or maybe he had too much of that Christmas eggnog. Anyway, hey, dude likes to day drink. At the time, BC's then Attorney General David Eby, who is now Premier, had requested data from the BC UMC about repeat offenders and their criminal activity. The second page of the letter, which Poilievre's office confirmed to the Star it had consulted, includes a table that lists the number of prolific or chronic offenders in 10 of BC's most urban cities and the number of, quote, negative police contacts the offenders had in those cities. To start, the numbers in the table only refer to repeat property offenders, not violent ones. Oops. There's a gross mischaracterization. So apparently, getting your window smashed is now a violent crime. I'm just saying.
That's
a property
exaggeration.
offender. Yes. A property offender is somebody who commits a crime like mischief or theft or vandalism, someone who causes damage or takes another person's property, said Kyla Lee, a Vancouver-based criminal defense lawyer. A violent offender is somebody who commits an assault, a murder, or uses a weapon or threatens somebody. Okay, so Vancouver had 40 property offenders, not violent offenders.
Mm-hmm.
Why were they arrested 6,000 times? Why were they arrested 6,000 times?
Yeah.
Also, no. The table explicitly notes that those offenders were linked to 6,385 quote, negative police contacts, which the Vancouver Police Department confirmed to the Star cannot be interpreted to mean arrests. Negative contact is defined in the table as someone being considered a suspect who is chargeable, an individual who has been charged, or a person for whom charges have been recommended. The notion that 40 individuals could be arrested that many times in 1 year is, quote, impossible, said Michael Spratt, a criminal defense lawyer in Ottawa who said he has consulted Crown attorneys, police officers, and other lawyers about Poilievre's framing of the statistic. As for whether that number of negative police contacts took place over the course of a single year, that claim is harder to verify because of how the Vancouver Police classifies the city's most chronic offenders. The table's footnote references the department's definition of, quote, super chronic offenders, which is anyone who has had 5 break-and-enter convictions in the last 10 years and 10 negative police contacts within the last year, which at that time was 2021. According to a senior former municipal government source in Vancouver who spoke to the Star on the condition they not be named, the data in question came directly from the VPD, But because the letter does not specify during which time frame the incidents occurred, the VPD would not confirm whether the 6,385 figure came entirely from them and whether it could be traced to a single year. So they're not violent offenders, they're not 6,000 arrests, and we don't even know if they happened all in 1 year. That's 3 big lies in that statement right now.
Big shock to me.
Some people like Conservative MP Ted Falk link the statistic to 2022, but that is untrue because the mayor's letter is only dated April 5th of that year. You cannot have data for full 2022 in April.
Well, yeah.
Are the Liberals, unless he's got some type of crystal ball and Madame Miss Cleo in his part of his campaign team, are the Liberals to blame for repeat offending? Poilievre frequently ties the issue of repeat offenders to 2 laws introduced by the Trudeau Liberals. In 2019, the government passed what was then known as Bill C-75, a sweeping piece of legislation that was partly aimed at making it easier to obtain bail. Also, in Poilievre's sights is the recently passed Bill C-48, which made it harder for repeat violent offenders to be released on bail, for repeat violent offenders to be released on bail, but he's saying it's making it easier. Okay? He's saying that the bill does the opposite of what the bill actually does. And in our parliament, especially in a minority parliament, we have everybody looking at that and going to committee and making sure that the bill does what it says that it does. And you can't include clauses and amendments in a bill that change the purpose of the bill. And then when it goes to the Senate, you have the chamber of sober second thought. They actually make sure that the bill does what the bill says it does. Like that's part of their job. Conservatives are saying that after all of that, the bill does the opposite, makes it easier for violent offenders to be released, when the bill's stated purpose is to make it harder. Okay, so another lie. Premiers and police chiefs pushed for those changes. Let me repeat that again. Premiers and police chiefs pushed for those changes after a spate of violent offenses were linked in some cases to people out on bail. First, it's important.
That's an important fact that seems to be ignored. And another fact that sailed over everybody's heads here is the fact that policing is a municipal and provincial issue, not a federal issue.
Which is why the premiers were asking for it. First, it's important to note that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees that anyone charged with an offense has the right not to be denied reasonable bail without just cause. Second, and here's where things get a little spicy. Indigenous people, Black and racialized Canadians, and people with mental illnesses are overrepresented in Canada's criminal justice system, many of whom face barriers in obtaining bail because of systemic discrimination. It's this point experts say that Poilievre is missing when he pastes the issue squarely on the federal Liberals. Quote, the type of offenses that marginalized people perhaps are more likely to commit we choose to deal with through criminalization rather than through treatment, prevention, or harm reduction, said Spratt. It's unlikely that any law that this government passed can fully explain or can be responsible, he added. Lee said the real problem is that provinces aren't looking at the right social supports to deal with root causes of crime. Quote, provincial governments also should be stepping in to fix it by ensuring that they're developing appropriate policies, Lee said. To the extent that government should be doing something, it should be cooperation between federal and provincial level governments, but amendments to the criminal code or, God forbid, changing the constitution and amending the charter are not a solution to this problem.
Well, there you go. So he lied blatantly multiple times, keeps repeating the lie, hoping that'll become the truth someday, maybe, you think? Tell a lie, make it big, and repeat it until it becomes the truth. Wasn't that from Goebbels' playbook?
I think so. And just to go back for the kids who don't remember, because it came early in the story, when we refer to Spratt is a criminal defense lawyer in Ottawa who consulted Crown attorneys, police officers, and other lawyers about Poilievre's framing of the statistics. So when he says that the offenses that marginalized people are more likely to commit are being dealt with through criminalization rather than through treatment, prevention, and harm reduction, he knows what he's talking about.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, it's all very suspicious, to say the least.
Yeah, and we talk about Lee. as well, Kyla Lee, which was a Vancouver-based criminal defense lawyer. So when she is saying again that provincial governments should be stepping in to fix it by ensuring that they're developing appropriate policies, because as we mentioned in the show, when you're just trying to survive, people will do what they will do. If you have an addiction, people will do what they need to do to feed their fix. And those are the property crimes.
Mm-hmm.
The cars being broken into, shoplifting, petty theft,
Mm-hmm.
those mischief crimes. Because
Well,
people are trying to get by.
Look at this from Dan, and I quote, "I was arrested in my teens for stealing from Zellers, barred for life and no bail. 3 weeks in jail for $50 worth of product. The most effective people in this issue are those living in poverty overall." So they had you in the clink for 3 weeks for $50. How much money did that cost us, the taxpayers, for that?
Yep. There could have just been restitution, right?
3
Restitution
weeks
with a small fine.
for $50? It's definitely more than $50 a day to keep a person incarcerated. So they did it for 21 days, 3 weeks. Let's conservatively say at the time it was $80 a day to keep you incarcerated. It was more than that, but let's just say it was $80 a day. 1 day costs more than the amount of product that you shoplifted.
Yep.
And they did it for 21 days. Do the math. That is not what you call value for money. That is not fair punishment for the crime committed. Not even close.
Yep. As Kit Cassie mentions, and we've mentioned it on the show, it costs less to fund community support and activity programs than it does housing someone in jail. As a conservative, even I get that. It always costs less to do the right thing. Give people the basics. Watch the petty crime rate go down.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know what? And the thing that Cassie says here is something that I have been pushing for years, and I have progressive conservative friends who say, let's just fund this. A buddy of mine recently said, and he's as conservative as the day is long, and he hates Trudeau, but he said, we need to build housing now. Maybe we can build barracks. We're really good at doing that quickly. We could build barracks, make them individual rooms. We could do this fast. We need to do it because there's too many people living on the streets. Getting people off the streets and into housing helps to end crime.
Yes.
And he's speaking from lived experience because his wife is a social worker.
Yeah.
She's telling him, point blank.
Yeah. And speaking of reducing this stuff, there's lots of principles of restorative justice,
mm-hmm.
which are very, very common within the indigenous community, that could be taken and that could be made law that would benefit all of us. You want to talk about some reconciliation? Let's take some indigenous law. And in the cases where it can apply, make it national law.
Well, that would make sense, though, right?
Good ideas. Well, for that type of stuff,
yeah,
there should be a court of restorative justice.
Yes. Well, it's like PNC
Nobody needs
Miles.
to go to jail for $50.
The cruelty is the point.
Bingo. There is no, for all these people that keep on talking about money, we need to balance the budget and whatnot. Right? There's a lot of people in that demographic for whom there is no amount of money that is too little to spend to punish or keep people in a state of dependency. That they have money for. But they don't have money for basic income, though.
Yeah. Well, and I just saw a thing the other day where Elon Musk was talking about universal basic income. And he's talked about it a few times. And I mean, I have my issues with him. I have a lot of issues with him. But on this one, I see eye to eye. Because guess what? When the robots take the jobs, when the AI takes the jobs, when automation takes the jobs, how are people going to live? How will people buy the products that people manufacture? The products that the robots make, they're not going to buy them. AI isn't going to purchase a product. Software. It's like, Without a universal basic income, we'll all just starve to death and die. So either we get rid of money altogether or a universal basic income becomes the norm. Because there are jobs that are disappearing daily right now. And I've been saying this since we started this show. As we see more and more automation take over, now we have the big rigs from Tesla, electric trucks that will have a certain amount of automation, which means that long haul, well, as I should say medium haul. So say there's product in Toronto that needs to come to Ottawa. It leaves an Amazon, as an example, an Amazon warehouse in Toronto, drives down the highway because the warehouse is usually located right next to a highway, like the two big ones we have here in Ottawa. What do they call them? Distribution centers? Is that what they're called? I think. I can't remember the name, but they're located right next to the highway. So the big rig gets in with the load, which has been loaded by robots. Okay. And the big rig drives from distribution center to distribution center. Then the so-called last kilometer, or last mile, as our American friends like to say, is loaded into smaller trucks where people go out and deliver it. But Jeff Bezos, for the last 7 or 8 years, has been touting AI robot delivery bots along with drones to deliver product. This is something that's in the works. It's in the drawing books. This is planned. So these drivers that currently have these jobs, 10 years, they won't exist. Fulfillment centers. Thank you, PNC Bio.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, you know,
once the jobs are gone, how do we eat?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
it's a vital question. Yep. Kitlinda, humans freed by UBI will be able to devote themselves to working at things they actually like to do. That's what happened with CERB.
Yes, it was.
Yep. It was indeed.
Well, I mean, we started this during the pandemic. I was back to work. Well, I had started my music shows when they told us all to stay home. So I was home for 2 months. I was doing a music show every day. And then we started this April of 2020, we started this. So it was still full pandemic, but I had been back to work for almost a year at that point once we started, because I was only home for 2 months. But there was a lot of other people, and I have a lot of friends who work in theater. And they were completely shut down. Completely. There was like no touring acts. Nobody was, people who earn money setting up big concerts and video and productions like that were not making any money. They were home. Now, television and movies kept shooting. They shut down for like about a week, I think.
Yeah.
It's funny how if you're a filmmaker, the rules don't apply to you. And it was a friend of mine who was a producer, He's retired now. Filmmaker, director, writer, producer, and said, we didn't shut down at all. We were closed for like 4 or 5 days, and then we just found a way to get back up and get producing. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He goes, yeah, we had a 5-day break, and then that was it. Everybody else was sitting at home for 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with Saucy about this one. AI and robots will free humanity from some of the mundane jobs that we don't need to be doing. There are good things about it. Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. Completely, 100%. And for jobs that are extremely dangerous for human beings to do, AI and robots can do them better. And if they get damaged, well, so what? It's not a human being.
Yep.
Just send in a repair bot and you're good to go.
Right. Moving on to the provinces, there's a lot of the polling news, and I know people, every time I talk about polling, but I'm going to be talking about polling, right?
Okay, all right.
We're all talking about the federal numbers all the time.
Look at the
But there's some
numbers.
interesting stuff going on in the provinces. So I'd like to start with the province of Quebec, because we've noticed that François Legault has been having a tough time lately. Been talking about it on the show, but we haven't checked in with a little bit. So it's like, François Legault is going through a tough time. How tough is it? Mr. Grizzly, if you would.
Let's just put this right up on, put that up on the screen there.
François Legault is going through such a tough time that based on the most current provincial polling projections by aggregator 338 Canada, this came out at the end, I believe, of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, January 31st, last poll. The PQ was above the CAC by 10 percentage points now. Look at this line here from the CAC. Free fall. And if that translates into seats, kits and cubs,
Ooh.
the CAC has gone from a very big majority. This is the line that says what a majority is.
Mm-hmm.
Very big majority government to fourth place party.
Precipitous free fall.
Behind the Liberals, behind Quebec Solidaire, and only 3 seats ahead. I'm guessing this would be the Quebec Conservative Party, which is a relatively new entity. I have a feeling that maybe his job security isn't what he hoped it had been. First to fourth.
Wow. That's pretty big.
That's a pretty big drop. Then there are some elections in some provinces this year. One of them is in British Columbia. The other one is in New Brunswick, and the other one's in Saskatchewan. New Brunswick hasn't had an updated provincial polling since September, when it was showing that the Liberals might be gaining a lead on the Conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, give us something, since September's quite a long way. But if we look at British Columbia for the moment, it seems that Premier David Eby is doing quite well for himself. Mr. Grizzly?
Let's bring this up here. There we go.
In polling, holding pretty steady and even getting a little slight tip upwards. The BC NDP is standing at about 46%. It looks like they would increase their seat count because, down here all the way up to 81 of the seats, which would, basically leave all but 12 seats in the legislature if there was an election held today. So things are looking pretty stable there, but the election isn't until later in the year, and a lot can happen. But the real interesting piece of news I have is from Saskatchewan, because we've been reporting a lot in Saskatchewan that Premier Moe seems to have some of the highest approval ratings from citizens. And something really, really interesting is happening in Saskatchewan. I don't know if it might have to do with his ability to either manage electricity or his wanting to invoke the notwithstanding clause to oppress children. But Mr. Grizzly.
Let's see. There we go.
The spread is definitely less popular
Mm-hmm.
than he was on January 1st, 2023. He's going down too. This has been a trend. Oh, sorry. That's January 1st, 2021. So since about, I'd say June March.
Mm-hmm.
March 2022, it's been a pretty much steady decline.
He had a bit of a
And
bump.
now, pardon?
He had a bit of a bump there.
A bit of a bump there, but there's a sharp tightening right here starting at the beginning of 2024. And the Saskatchewan Party and the NDP are just 1 point between each other. The Saskatchewan Party is polling at 46 and the NDP at 45, which, if you translate to seats, still has the Saskatchewan Party in majority territory with 33 seats, but only by 2 seats. And the NDP at a high since 2021 at 28 seats. So the NDP in Saskatchewan has never been stronger in the last 4 years, or at least in the last current election cycle. There might be, and that election's in October, unless Scott Moe decides to pull the plug and go a little earlier himself.
Mm.
But it seems that there are some people that are not so happy. They're saying maybe it's time for no mo.
Well, I'm
I was
surprised
just
it's
going to let
taken
this
this
one.
long.
Yeah, I was just going to let this election pass by,
Mhm.
not give it much attention because it looked like a foregone conclusion looking at the premier approval ratings. But maybe not. So if you're living in Saskatchewan and if you're progressive, because in the last few elections, you might not have you've been deciding, well, there's no point in going to vote.
Which I'm sure a lot of people have done, which is how we ended up getting Doug Ford with a majority government with, what, 13% of the vote?
It might be time to consider getting back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of a sudden, this election is flippable.
Well, and hopefully it'll flip.
Ah, yes. Kit Cassie goes, the decline in Saskatchewan party standings is due to their abysmal healthcare system. The parents' rights is a distraction. Doesn't seem to be working yet.
No, and it won't.
Yes. And as Kit Linda M. mentions as well, I think we mentioned it on the show, PEI just had a provincial by-election and flipped a long-time conservative seat to Green. So I'm not sure if this pro-conservative push that we're all being told at the federal level is happening and is completely inevitable actually is, because we had that by-election in Newfoundland and now this by-election in Prince Edward Island, and we're seeing the margins getting tight with the Saskatchewan party, and the margins were tight in New Brunswick. Anywhere where there seems to be at least a conservative provincial government, they're having a tough time. I mean, Alberta was close.
Oh, yeah.
The NDP screwed that election over, but Alberta was close. Manitoba flipped. It's looking like New Brunswick could flip. Now it's looking like Saskatchewan could flip. That would not make me sad. Maybe Canadians are realizing that the premiers are the problem.
It's taken time, but as more and more people are learning basic civics on how in Justin Trudeau's Canada, healthcare is a provincial responsibility. Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that. In Justin Trudeau's Canada, crime runs rampant because that's a municipal and provincial responsibility. In Justin Trudeau's Canada, yeah, everything you're talking about are municipal and provincial responsibilities. Stop blaming him for things that are not in his mandate or his purview or his responsibility. You can hate him all you want, but do it for the right reason. Don't
For
hate
half a
him
reason.
for something your premier has done to you. Like,
Have a reason.
have a reason. Yeah.
It's like I'm just saying, it's like, if you're going to be a rebel with a cause.
Yeah.
Not a rebel
Not
without
a rebel
a clue.
without a clue.
It's
Great minds think alike.
Uh-huh.
And I
man.
think Hugh's right about this. No, sorry, my dogs are goth. Whoops. Here we go. If Naheed Nenshi runs for NDP leader here in Alberta, I bet money he would win. And I think you are correct. It wouldn't surprise me in the least bit. He's a beloved mayor. City of Calgary still love and respects him. Even people who don't particularly care for his politics respect him. And as I'm drawing a blank. David Wallace told us, I couldn't buy him off. He goes, the man is not corrupt. I tried to corrupt him. He had no part of it. I'm like, he's a good man. And he's like, and that's the thing David Wallace said. He says, I don't see eye to eye with him politically, but I respect the hell out of him because he would not play dirty politics. He wouldn't play the game. He's a good man. So let's see if he runs. I know everybody seems to think he's going to. Maybe. It would be good for Alberta. At least I certainly think it would be good for Alberta. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that would agree with that. Whether or not he does is another question. I mean, let's face it. You want to run for that position, you have to crawl back under the microscope again. And not everybody wants to do that. I mean, he was the mayor for 10 years?
Oh.
8 years.
Seems like it would be longer.
Maybe it was 12.
But well, that's the thing is like when you become like ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
He was you just like think he was so long. No, only 11 years.
Yeah.
Literally to the day, October 25th, 2010 to October 25th, 2021. 11 years. See, I would have thought he was married like for 15 easily. Because he was everywhere and he was good at his job.
Well, and I still remember him during the flooding back in 2010. The flooding, if memories. He's like, I can't believe I have to say this. Don't go near the river. The bow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't go near the river. I can't believe I have to tell you this. Just don't do it.
Yep. Indeed. Let's see. What else have I got here for you today? Oh yes, I put something in in the private chat there for you, Mr. Grizzly. It's Danielle Smith.
Yeah, I have it. Here. Do we?
It's an audio clip, and I would like you to hear it because I want you to hear the step to the right that she is making in this clip here.
Here we go. This is well, just listen to this. This is from our friend Nate at The Breakdown.
Yep.
What kind of supports are going to be put in place to ensure the safety and security of that child if their home life is not safe? What supports are going to be available to those within the education sector, knowing that we may have been the reason the student may have killed themselves? Is mandatory outing of the students by education staff safe and truly secure when considering the students and potential home lives?
Yeah, that absolutely will not happen. And that is not the intention of what we're proposing. What we're proposing is that if the child is out, they have a new name. They have a new gender. They're presenting that way. They're using the washrooms. They're participating in the sports clubs. Every member of the school community knows it.
And presumably their family,
then
that's the presumption,
then
right?
The point is you cannot have that child then pretend when the parent is on site and go back to their dead name and go back to their other gender and dress differently and have the entire school community trying to keep a secret like that from the parents and the family. That I think is more damaging to a child.
What?
Okay. So lots going on here. First of all, the presumption that if a child is out at school where they would feel safe among friends or just exploring, trying stuff out.
Yeah.
At school friends, that they are necessarily out at home. I can tell you from personal experience that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I was way more out at school, and I wasn't particularly out at school, but I was way more out at school than I was at home, and I certainly was way more out in other places. I went to pride parades when I was 16, but I made sure that there was no television cameras anywhere so I wouldn't be caught on the news.
Right.
I had a circle of friends with whom I was out. I was not out at home.
Mm-hmm.
So that presumption is wrong in the first place. Now, this is not just all transgender kids, right? This is all rainbow kids now.
Right.
She's talking about.
Yeah.
Right. So she's moved over to include all of us now.
You knew that was inevitable, though.
Yeah.
You knew that was
inevitable. Yeah, that was coming like this. And then it's like, well, no. If kids are out, so if you do not want this sort of mandatory reporting or be forced to get permission or all that kind of stuff, then all you have to do is just not be out. Right? That's the solution.
So
stay in that little closet in the dark where you're alone and afraid and lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And just so long as we don't have to see it. Right? What I keep on saying is that a lot of these rules are to reduce the amount of public space in which people can exist.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay in. And none of us will have a problem. We won't have to see it. We won't have to be offended by you being your authentic self.
That's exactly what she's saying. It's exactly what she's saying.
And she's saying this will never happen. She can't guarantee that.
She can't guarantee a damn thing.
She can't guarantee that. And we already know that her starting premise is, right, we assume that all parents love their children, even though 1 in 4 kids who identify as rainbow or trans, no, as rainbow, are told to leave,
Mhm.
and it's close to about 43% who are trans are told to leave home. There's data on this, that all these families are going to be loving, and if something bad happens to that child, well, we have a criminal justice system for that, so we'll deal with that after
Yeah.
something bad has happened to the child, not before. We will not try at all. We will not invest any energy whatsoever in trying to prevent something bad from happening
We
to the
won't be
child.
proactive. We'll be
Yes,
reactive.
we'll just start with the assumption that all kids are going to be okay, and if something happens, then we'll deal with that. How enthusiastically, with how much zeal we'll deal with that, well, that remains to be questioned.
Well, here's
Uh,
a question exactly, right? This is just spelling it all out, right? Look at this. So at Rob Ferguson, am I getting this? If you're a gay or trans teen, then there's absolutely no risk at all, provided you stay deep in the closet. And the first response from Boychuk H, yes, that's the sentiment among Albertans. Do not be your authentic self to ensure you do not make the other people uncomfortable. What a shit world we live in lately.
and this is something that we used to internalize amongst ourselves, actually.
Mhm.
Don't scare the neighbors.
Yeah, of course. No,
That was a saying within the gay community. It's like,
Mhm.
just tone it down. Don't scare the neighbors. That's why often back in the days of the 80s and the 90s, when we were starting to get our rights, every time there was a pride parade and it was a drag queen on the cover of the newspaper, you'd have a whole section of the gay community going, oh God, why do they have to show a freaking drag queen again? They all think that we're all like that. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of hate within our community to other members within our community. Because those of us who just wanted to pass and be left alone
Yeah, that's
had issues with those of us who are a little more flamboyant.
a friend of mine years ago. He came out to my mom first at work, and my mom was very accepting and understanding. And he was like, "Oh, I wish you were my mother. You're so accepting." And she's like, well, "That's because we're friends and coworkers. I don't know if I would react the same way if it were my son coming out to me." She said point blank, "I don't know how I would react." This is 30 years ago. Okay. And that's an honest statement. She doesn't know how she would react. She would still love me, but I'm sure it would be a bit of a gut punch, right? Because, it's like now my child is going to be part of an ostracized, marginalized community. Things have changed an awful lot from 30 years ago to today. But that coworker of hers, he finally came out to his family, and it was, it was a little rough, but he was fully accepted. And his older brother said, I'll march in the Pride Parade with you. And he said, nope, I'm not doing that. I said, why not? He says, I don't want to be Danny, the guy marching in Pride. Again, 30 years ago. He goes, I just want to be Danny. I don't want to be identified with the drag queen or the guy in the leather studded jock strap. And I'm like, yeah, I think I can understand that, because people automatically paint you with that same brush. You're part of the community, but you don't represent the entire community, and the entire community doesn't represent you. Just like I will say from time to time, fucking white people, fully realizing I'm a white people. Okay. But I'm not every white people. It's like not all men. Yeah, I know. Not all men. Men can be pretty horrible, especially white men. Not all of us, but I don't have to say not all of us, because I know when somebody says something derogatory towards white males, it's not directed at me, because I'm able to discern and critically analyze and discover that, oh, wait, I don't fall into that category, so I'm not even going to worry about it.
Yep. So, yeah.
This is really
And she
pointless.
says it in such a way that makes it, if you're not educated, I think there's a kid that made that comment here, like this, that those are not educated or informed about it. That, like, this sounds normal.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't know anybody, you said, well, yeah, I could get with that, but no. It's like, if you are out at school, you're not necessarily out at home, and she can't guarantee that no child will not be outed. She just can't. And she's literally telling people, well, if you're out, then it's not a problem, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be able to be out at school. You'll get your parents' permission and everything like this. But yeah, but What if you're not? What if you're out at school because that's your couple of hours a day where you can actually be yourself, and then you have to code switch when you go back? And then the ultimate thing at the end, right? What's more damaging? She presents it as being more damaging to the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Staying in the closet or forcing all of your friends and the entire school to keep your secret for you. And again, lie to your family. She is literally telling these children, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
You are a horrible and selfish person for burdening us with your secret and forcing us to keep it. When really what's going on is that someone is trusting you enough to share some very intimate information about them, and trusting that you recognize that it's not your information to either share or keep secret from anyone. It's not your information to do anything with it. You cannot be keeping a secret if it's not yours. You're aware of information that is someone else's to tell. That's all there's going on. They're not asking you to keep a secret.
Mm-hmm.
They're not asking you to share it with anyone, and they're not asking you to hide it from anyone. They're just asking you to accept them and mind your own business.
Well, it's kind of what they're kind of saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it's like, no, it's okay. You can be exactly who you are, just as long as you do it behind closed doors in a closet in the dark when nobody can see and make me uncomfortable. Then you can be your real authentic self. Isn't that what they're saying?
Yep. And if you want to be your authentic self here, but are not ready to be it at home, then shame on you for making me an accomplice
Mm-hmm.
in maintaining your lie.
Yeah.
And all your friends. What kind of friend are you to get all your friends to keep a secret and lie to your parents?
And we're talking about, what are we talking about here again? Which member of the community? What's their age demographic? The children.
10 to 14, 15?
Children, teenagers.
I am not impressed with this woman.
I hate her more every day. And I want to know, when did she switch? When did she go from the libertarian, everybody live and let live, to suddenly being the puppet of David Parker? When did that happen? Why and how? Because she's a libertarian by nature. She used to stand up for kids. Now she wants to throw them under the bus. So when did that change? What was it? Does David Parker have some compromise on her?
Gotta wonder. I see this quip here from Kit, my dogs are goth. My Mormon parents shipped me to another Mormon house in Idaho for a year for reprogramming. I came back worse.
Yeah, I posted that on the screen there earlier.
I have Kit Michael here going, I have always said, you're human. I love you for who you are. Why can't this fucked up world realize there's no difference?
Mm-hmm.
It's always easier to do the right thing. It's always easier to do the kind thing.
Well, and not only that, you to do the right and kind thing takes a heck of a lot less energy.
Well, yes.
Physical and emotional.
Yes.
It's just easier.
It's like, Mr. Grizzly, I'm gay.
Okay.
Hey, great. Okay. Versus Mr. Grizzly, I'm gay. Well, don't let the audience know. We got to keep it a secret.
No, don't
So
do that.
much energy.
Yeah.
So much energy would go into that.
Yeah, way too much energy.
Well, it's okay. You can say that to me, but like when my friends are around, you better put that shit away. So much energy. I just
Do you think that might be why, when you look at the face of Pierre Poilievre and then contrast it with the face of the Prime Minister who is 7 years or 8 years older than Pierre Poilievre? 7 or 8, I'm not sure. He's just turned 51 on Christmas Eve.
I believe so, yeah.
Christmas Eve or Christmas Day?
Christmas Day.
It's Christmas Day, yeah. He turned 51 on Christmas Day. He does not look like a 51-year-old man. Why? And this is a man who has a job that is very high pressure and very stressful. And it tends to age people. But if you're a happy, loving individual, it shows on your face. And if you put a side-by-side shot of them up there, which person is loving, accepting, kind, and gracious, and which person is looking angry and filled with rage and hate?
Contorted and
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You have a shot there for me, do you?
the Prime Minister's 52 and Pierre Poilievre is 44.
So 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah,
6,
about a little.
8
Yeah,
years.
yeah. They're about Pierre Poilievre's birthday's in June and the Prime Minister's is in December, so like about 7.5. Close to.
PNC bio.
Yes, I was thinking that when we said Christmas Day, that must be another reason conservatives hate him.
Yeah, yeah.
Stealing thunder from the baby Jesus on his big day.
Rage, hatred, ignorance.
All reasons are good when it's raging, right? I don't care how you get there, so long as you get to rage. Woo!
Polyev looks a lot older, and I know I've said this time and time again. I question his health right now, and I'm looking at him going like, well, it could very well be the case. He looks.
I would bet on that.
Doesn't look healthy. He doesn't.
Well, there's a couple of mornings he shows up to some press conferences, and he looked like he's been sleeping on the clothesline.
I don't know if he has a substance abuse problem. If he does, I feel sorry for him, believe it or not, because
I do too.
It's human suffering. Yeah, it's human suffering.
Parliament Hill runs on alcohol and amphetamines.
It does.
Speed, cocaine, meth, booze.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It runs on that stuff. There's only you don't get through that pace of work.
No, and they do work
just on energy alone.
Yeah, they work insane hours. They do. Yeah.
So, not saying all of them, but there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. All right. Happier news. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame time, people.
Oh.
Yes. The nominations came out. There are 15 artists who are in contention to join the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 10 of them are first time on the ballot. Other 5 are returnees. And we have Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey, Cher, the Dave Matthews Band, Eric B. and Rakim, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Jane's Addiction, Been Caught Stealing When I Was 5, funky R&B legends Kool and the Gang, like them, Lenny Kravitz, Oasis, Sinead O'Connor, Ozzy Osbourne, Sade, and A Tribe Called Quest.
I'll get into the Hall of Fame. It's a shame.
Well, they're not getting it. They're nominated.
Oh, they're nominated.
They have to vote.
Right.
So there's about 7 of them that are going to get in. 2/3
shame
of the
that
names
they're
are
nominating
first-timers.
Sinead O'Connor after she dies.
Yes. It's the second nomination for Mary J. Blige, Eric B. and Rakim, Jane's Addiction, David Matthews Band, and a third for A Tribe Called Quest. And on the actual ballot, the first ballot, there was the White Stripes and Cyndi Lauper were there, but they did not make the cut. Well, the White Stripes were on the ballot in 2023, actually. Yes, and they didn't make the cut, and they did not get onto the ballot this year. And Cyndi Lauper was also on the 2023 ballot, and she didn't get back on this year as well. So yes, the 2024 nominees will be decided by a voting body of about 1,000 or plus artists, historians, and members of the music industry, and it seems that the ceremony will be live streamed on Disney Plus and air on ABC at a later date. So there you go. You know what? Last year, I could kind of say pretty clearly who it was. Like, there was almost like a clear line between, Pat Benatar is getting in, right? This one's a little trickier because if Mary J. Blige didn't get in the first time,
yeah,
like that, I don't understand.
No,
at all. A Tribe Called Quest, I also don't understand.
I know.
Total pioneers. Jane's Addiction also didn't. I would have thought that they would have been a shoo-in. I mean, they're not as well known in North America, though. That might have something to do with it.
Well, they're from Chicago.
Yeah, but they seem to have been more popular in the UK for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
for some
Didn't know
reason.
that.
Yeah, they crossed over more popular there than they were in North America. And
TMYK.
but then like really, because to be a nominee, it has to be at least 25 years since you put out your first commercial recording. Well, Cher has done that way longer than that, and this is her first time ever nominated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Pretty sure Mariah Carey is going to be a shoo-in.
I'd be surprised if she wasn't.
Yeah, but the rest of them,
Who knows?
it's a toss-up, man.
Mm-hmm. When does the show air?
Is it in?
Because they tape it
April?
and then air it later, usually.
Yeah. Will be decided. It will be the class will be announced in late April.
Okay.
So we'll be keeping our ears on the ground for that, just to see what's going on. Yeah, how long did it take for Rush? Yeah.
Wait. So let's talk.
That's true.
Let's talk healthcare here for a sec. I have two things I want to show you. First off, I want to show you this thing from the Calgary Herald. I'll just blow it up so it's easier to read. And this is a really disturbing stat. I just saw this a few minutes ago. And when you see this, it'll make you go, oh my goodness. This is for the city of Calgary.
Okay.
Just the city of Calgary, not the province of Alberta. Calgary lost more than 20,000 healthcare social assistance workers in 2023. That's a staggering number. Staggering. When I scroll down, it's like, right, how many were fired or left due to mandates? Yeah, sure. Yes, it was pedophiles that Edmonton added. You are covering that horror story. Like, some of the responses. Some of the responses
Pedophiles,
are just,
the answer to everything.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, and then the next one I want to show you is, here it is. So this is from a person who goes by the handle of TalkHard19. I don't know who this person is, but it's a pretty disturbing image when you see it. And I'll bring it up here in a second. Here it is. So let me put this on the screen. It says, I'm posting this with permission from a dear friend of mine in the U.S. This is her bill. After 3 weeks in hospital with COVID and pneumonia, she had to be intubated. If we're not vigilant, this is exactly where the PC Ford Nation will do. Scrolling slowly to see her bill for 3 weeks in the hospital. $672,605.88.
Jeez.
The highest number of bankruptcies in the United States of America occurred due to medical debt.
Jeez.
And that's where we're headed if we're not careful. Because now, through a large pharmacy chain owned by Galen Weston, you can pay $79.90 a month to see a doctor whenever you want. Wait a minute, that's a usury fee. Isn't that against the Health Canada Act?
I'm not familiar enough with it. I know that the fees are for like certain things, and yeah, I'm not sure. But I hope someone does challenge it. Yeah.
It's not a good road we're headed down if we're not ever vigilant. We need to push back against these government who just continue to cut our basic services to the bone and then bring in, what they do is they break it. They break the public service and then bring in the private sector as a rescue, as a parachute. And suddenly, hey, they cut our taxes, but my costs have increased. So I'm no further ahead. I'm actually falling behind. And this is what happens. We cut your taxes. Yeah, but now I got to spend, X number of dollars a month on supplementary health insurance.
Right.
because I have to pay to see a doctor now because of what you did.
Yep.
I don't care that my taxes went up. My service fees don't exist. Then I'm happy.
That's true. Speaking of health and other stuff about helping people, 3 quick hits here. But the Canadian dental program, registrations have started, and people are applying, and we're starting with people who are older Canadians, and they are receiving letters, and they're being told when it is that they can register. And this started in December, I think, and we were looking at. We think we're starting with the people who are 78 and older at first, and
Yes.
whatnot. Well, they're at the phase where they're about to send out letters to Canadians who are 72 and up now. And so far, 400,000 people have been approved for the program. So when we were wondering at first, well, starting with 70, how many people are going to order that? We go for. Turns out a lot. Turns out that there were a lot of seniors. 400,000. That's 1% of our population. About if we say we're at 40 million, we're about to hit 41. But these are people that are, let's say, 74 and above, or 73 and above. There's a lot of. This is a good program. 400,000 people approved already. So, starting in May, they will start to be able to get those services. Kitlin M goes, my husband applied for the dental care program. They'll let him know in 2 weeks if he's accepted. If so, he'll receive his packet of information by May. Exactly. So in May, you'll be able to start getting your services. And remember, to qualify, you have to have no access to private insurance, have filed last year's tax returns, and have an adjusted family income of less than $90,000. That's it. That's all you need to qualify. The government also announced that, and this is something that's announced before, but they're doing it again, that the deadline for extending medical assistance and dying to people who have mental health issues has been delayed, pushed back yet again. It seems that once again, provinces are not ready to be able to do what's needed to be done or provide the information that's needed to be provided in order to go forward with it. So Minister Mark Holland announced that we're not ready yet, and we're going to, delay it for some time, which again is the right decision if you're not doing it. But we have to remember that at the heart of this, there's a human rights issue in that people who are mentally ill do still have the same rights as everyone else. And right now, they are not being able to access a program that's being accessed by everyone else. And technically, that is unconstitutional. Now, you need some rules and regulations and whatnot to make that happen, and things are much more complicated and complex.
Yes.
When we're dealing with people who have mental illness. But there are ways to do it.
I'm really uncomfortable with it.
Yep. Yeah. It is uncomfortable because, you don't want these decisions being made, for example, by someone who's schizophrenic, let's say, while they're having a psychotic episode. Right? But then you have to hope that you have a medical system that's good enough to recognize that someone's in a psychotic episode, and, we can't do that right now. Right? You're not in a state to be able to make that decision right now. But there are plenty of people who suffer from mental illness who have periods of time where they're doing quite well. They're able to make their wishes known and all that type of stuff. So, but yes, there's a question whether or not Made for Mental Health is too much of a political hot button, because we would probably be moving to the forefront of nations having that type of policy. There are lots of policies that have that lots of nations that do have some type of MAID policy, but I'm not sure how developed theirs for mental health is.
Well, as somebody who has mental health issues, I really am not comfortable with where this is going. And I understand constitutionally that they're going to have to examine the hell out of this. But here's my concern, is that we're not giving people the proper treatment that they need. And I already took care of that, sir.
Okay.
We're not giving people the proper treatment that we need if they're looking at MAID as an option. Because can we not get proper counseling, proper medication? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe we should spend some money on mental health care?
Yep.
Yeah.
And exactly, that's the other side of the coin, right? Are we making this accessible because we don't want to do the hard work on the other side?
Well, this is what it sounds like to me.
Indeed.
And I know people who suffer who would choose that. And I'm like, I don't think that's the right way to go.
Yeah.
That's personal, and I'm getting personal here because of, I suffered for decades. And I'm going to say right now, I probably would have chosen that route were it available to me at one point in time. So this is why I don't think it should be something that should be. It's a hot button topic for sure.
It's definitely a hot button topic. For those who are wondering what the thing about Mr. Grizzly already having dealt with that is, we had someone in the chat who was being gross.
Yes, so I just eliminated them. They're blocked.
Very gross and vile.
Now they were watching on a Twitter feed. I don't know which one. So
yeah, but we make enough good-hearted sex jokes that we do not need to have vile sexual stuff in.
Well, and there's been some people recently that I've reported and banned on comments on YouTube because they're just. I said, you know what? There's somebody the other day, and I told you about this. The individual was just coming back with one more hateful comment after another, not adding anything to the conversation. And I just said, you had your chance. You never have anything positive or constructive to say. All you do is spew vile hatred, and that gets you a ban. So I put that message. I left it up for about 10 or 15 minutes so that hopefully they got a chance to read it. Then I banned them. They're blocked, and I reported them to YouTube for harassment.
Yep. And that's the rule on the blog page too.
Yeah.
It's like you're free to say what you want, but like, let's not do sophistry. Let's not do insults. Let's not attack other people on the chat. Let's assume that everybody here is dealing in good faith and add something constructive.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you agree with the opinion stated or not, add something constructive. If you don't agree with it,
it's okay, but
put something. But you put something where you turn around and say, "Yeah, I can see how someone who would see it that way, or could see it that way. I don't, but I see." But if it's just, it's this conspiracy thing like this that nobody can see it that way, then right?
Yeah.
So you have to be adding something. You have to be adding something of value to the public square, even if you're being contrarian, right? And you can stay. We have no problem with that. It's not differing views we have problem with. We have problem with behavior.
And that's the thing. You can come in here with a difference of opinion, and we're happy to have a debate with you about anything. But if you come in and spew hatred and yell and scream and make outlandish statements, I'm going to recommend that first you go seek counseling, and second, I'm going to tell you that I'm banning you because we're not having hatred here. And then somebody said, well, you say hateful things about Pierre Poilievre all the time. I go, that's not opinion. That's a fact. We call him out for his lies and his bullshit. That's not an opinion. It's a fact.
It's not hateful if it's true. It's not mean if it's true. It's a statement of fact. It might be an unflattering fact, but it's still a fact.
Facts are facts. They're not alternative facts. They're facts.
Yep.
End of story, period. That's it.
Yep. Also on the wavelength of things being done, Minister Mark Miller, currently our Minister of Immigration, announced recently an extra $363 million in funding to address housing for refugees. He recently announced that about $100 million of that went to the province of Quebec. And previously, before Toronto City Hall finalized its budget, the federal government had also announced that there would be $143 million going to the Toronto area to help with their issues. Most asylum seekers and refugees in Canada do end up in the provinces of Ontario and Quebec, so it's no surprise that the overwhelming majority of that $363 million would go to those two places. yeah, there was just another announcement the other day, and unlike other places, when it comes to housing funding, Quebec is right there at the table. Yeah, give it to us. We're ready to do what we want to do. What we need to do, and they'll go ahead with it. That clip we showed of the Prime Minister with Doug Ford, they were actually together to announce some money as well. In that case, and it was money going to tackle guns and gang violence. Ottawa has committed $390 million to that fund, and $121 million that is going to Ontario to combat auto theft. Because in 2022, there was one car stolen every 30 minutes, nearly 10,000 vehicles stolen in Toronto in 2022, which is about a 300% increase since 2015, according to the Canadian Finance and Leasing Association. There's a dramatic rise in the number of auto thefts that are combined with a home invasion as well, which is something that's not being reported too much in the news there. So yeah, and there was also some more money with that. There was a compliance and warranty apprehension grant of $100 million given to Ontario, and then this auto theft grant of another 121. And the province of Ontario has announced that it's going to expand the Ontario Police College to being able to pass 1,400 cadets through its system per year to 2,000 per year. And this all has to do or somewhat connected with the National Summit to Prevent Auto Theft, which took place on February 8th. That we talked about very briefly on our show last week. So so I can see that, the Prime Minister being there to announce money. And I believe maybe that particular announcement has nothing to do with that. The particular announcement that Ford was there for is because the government of Ontario has finally signed on to the healthcare deal. That's been on the table since last year. And is only like the fourth province to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of provinces are dragging their heel, saying we don't have the money. Well, the money's been sitting there.
Well, let's.
But they did want no strings at first, so I'm guessing they didn't quite get that.
So did you know? Maybe I'm not going to go there. No, I'm not going to go there.
Not going to go there?
No. I'm going to talk to a friend to get specifics before I go where I was about to go, because that could put us literally in the crosshairs of an organization that would not like us. So not going to say it, but it has to do with car thefts and Pierre Poilievre's suggestion that he'll hand over scanners to inspectors on docks to scan stuff, and I was going to tell you how that won't work because of individuals who are part of a well-known criminal organization who also run certain other organizations. And yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Let's just
say more details.
Let's just say Pierre Poilievre's scanner thing that would get tossed right off the dock into the harbor. Won't happen.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
All right. We have Kit Snow saying, very interesting show today, covering a lot of important topics. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grizzly, I think that's about all I have in terms of news at the moment.
Well, I have one thing to add to it, and then we can wrap up, because I think this is something that we should be sharing. This is some good news about somebody doing something good. Now, this is from Justice Queen at @RE_MarketWatch. And I will show you this tweet, and I will read it to you. Whoops. And it says, how one Canadian tech millionaire built a tiny home community. Marcel Lebrun made millions as a software tycoon, then funneled his fortune into 12 neighborhoods, a planned community of 99 affordable tiny homes in Fredericton for the city's unhoused. And you can see some of the pictures of the homes and the community that he's built. It says various church groups stepped in with donations as well, the largest of which was the use of cavernous 8,000 square foot space, which would later serve as 12 neighborhoods manufacturing warehouse. Lebrun assembled his own 19-person team of carpenters and plumbers through online job postings and word of mouth, offering each worker a living wage of $20 to $30 per hour. The team went through 2 or 3 home prototypes before settling on its current 240 square foot pine and metal model. And this is what he had to say. We have people who have been run over by trauma, by substance abuse, by all of these things. It's about excavating that person buried under their circumstances little by little. So this is a good man doing good work.
Wow.
At a time when we can use more of it.
I've included a link there that we can put for the kits in the chat. There's an article in Maclean's magazine, February 5th, 2024, titled How One Canadian Tech Millionaire Built a Tiny Home Community. And you can read up about him. Yeah, it might be hard. I'm going to try and see if I can find a contact for him.
Yeah, see if we
him
can
on
get
the
a chance
show.
If we can get him on the show, that'd be great.
It's always a little trickier to find contacts for people who are subjects in newspaper articles. But hey, I'll try to make a duty of that and find that out, because he would definitely have something interesting to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, democracy is something that you do, right? He's doing it.
And you know who pointed this to me? Well, didn't point it directly to me, but how I came across it is our friend Laura Babcock. She was the one who highlighted the story here. I'll just show this to you on the screen. Real leaders step up to meet the moment. Where are successful business people and developers who finance Mayor Andrea Horwath's campaign? Why aren't they working together to build shelter and transition people to housing first? It benefits economy and homeless people.
Indeed. And since we're speaking about Hamilton, we have the Hamilton Helps petition. I think it's hamiltonhelps.org still. I'm not sure what. There was something with the website going on at one point. So Kit Angela or Kit Leanne, if you're on the chat today, remind us if there's been a change in website so that we can direct people. But the Hamilton Helps petition to keep the armories open. Please give some time and a moment to sign that. What was that comment here? Run over by trauma. What a succinct way to phrase that. Indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely indeed.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if he personally experienced trauma earlier in his life, or if he has a loved one, or for somebody to go out and do what he's doing, I would tend to think that he's been directly affected somehow.
Yeah. Usually that is the case. Could be in someone in his family as well.
Exactly.
Somewhere along the way.
Alrighty, sir.
Yep. A couple of good things, little things to mention here. I forgot to do it when it happened, but an account I like to follow, his name is Jarvis GOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO I always get it wrong now when I'm talking about Mi'kmaq, because there's the pronunciation when we're talking about the person and when you're talking about other things. I can never remember which is which, so I'm very, very sorry if I'm going to say it incorrectly. But he is of the culture, and on January 31st, he said, posted a tweet, "Tonight, Mi'kmaq people historically fed Apuknajit, the winter spirit. It is the start of the Lunar New Year, and typically the prayers would be to thank Apuknajit for keeping you alive, warm, fed, and healthy up to this time, the middle of winter. You ask Apuknajit to help you in staying alive, warm, fed, and healthy for the remainder of the winter. Traditional offerings of food would be eels, fish, moose, etc. The time to feed is any time after dark and before midnight. So if we get god awful weather the next month at Mi'kmaqi, I'm blaming whoever doesn't put food out tonight." And you did kind of get that winter one thing. So there might be a couple of people. Mi'kmaq. Yeah, Mi'kmaq. Like I said, I'm not sure just which is which, Mi'kmaq or yeah. But I do have to look it up because I do want to bring more stuff like that and make sure that I get it right. And of course, not too long ago, or I think it was like 2 nights ago, I think was the Lunar New Year within the Chinese community. So for anybody and everybody who's celebrating, just wanted to bring that Happy New Year, and hope that your celebrations were joyous, had lots of love, lots of family, lots of good eats, lots of song, lots of celebration, and just some all around good naturedness. All right. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir. And I
All
have
right.
a little Easter egg that we talked about on Saturday that I said I would save and bookmark for today, which I have. We'll show you that in a few minutes.
All right.
It's another piece of positive news. Yeah, see it shortly.
There we go. And yes, thank you, Kit Christian, for the pronunciation trips. It's Migma with a G and not a K, even though it's spelled with a K. You actually say it. And then there's, like I said, but I still want to know what is the word, because it might also be different between singular and plural and stuff as well.
I don't know.
A person and things. But I will ask. I will ask. I'll ask Bryson actually, and Jarvis.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
to get me up to speed there, so I do it right. Because I do
Well,
care
we
about
like to
doing it
get
right, but I wanted to make sure everybody knows that I actually don't know. So I don't.
We want to get it right, but we're going to make mistakes because we're human.
That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you loved listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. It helps us out a lot. Thank you, Kid Christian. All good, homie. Peace to you too. So yes, please tell your peeps and poops. And if you do not want to miss an episode, well, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, the fabulous, feisty, and fierce The Ray Girl, who sponsors our pod page. That's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. Or you just scan the QR code being underneath my chin right there.
Take
That
you
will
right
bring
there.
you there. Yep. And that way, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it goes directly to your inbox. Also, if you'd like to support us in other ways, then you need to make like Kit Elaine and go to our YouTube page, True North Eager Beaver Media, on YouTube, and play with all our buttons. Like, share, and subscribe. Lick them all. Fun for the whole family. Lick the buttons, make them yours. Become a subscriber. That helps us out a lot. And if you would like to help us in yet another way, that QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head up there brings us to our coffee page where you can leave a donation to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund. And given that I've been promising it for a while now, as have, I'm going to start here on, I said, yeah, I'm going to start with Kit Leanne and Kit Angela, who both made donations soon after being on our show, which we thank you so very
Fun,
much for.
thanks.
You definitely don't need to do that, and there's no cost to be on our show, but we really do. It's not a condition, so kids know. So you can be on the show so long as you donate afterwards.
No,
It doesn't work that way.
No.
But thank you so much. And Leanne said you deserve this, loves, as she gives a donation. And Kit Angela said so thankful for all you do and sent us some hearts with that. Then we have Kit Steve McLeod, who's written us a couple of times, recently joined the Damn Fam, said, just discovered you guys recently. I am hooked. Thank you for a layman's point of view political chat. Well, thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Really
And I
appreciate
saw
that.
your email from, I think, yesterday. I just haven't had a chance to get to it. So I promise you I will. We'll respond later.
Absolutely.
Just lots to do today.
Yes, and I have been flagging the emails, so to make a note that I need to mention them and get back to you on them. So we will.
We do pay
but-
attention. We're just busy.
We're just busy. Then we had Kit Diane send us a little something. No particular message, just a little love. Great. Then Kit Megan said, thank you. I like your work.
I do have a Blue Sky account for the record, PNC Bio. I just can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But you're right. I've found almost no hatred there thus far. So I think it's just the way the algorithm works, is that it keeps the hate away from you, it seems. And I found that TikTok was the same way too. The way the algorithm worked, it would just attach like to like, and instead of what has happened to Twitter, I only go to the For You page. I don't go following. Wait a minute, which one? Hang on, which one is it? It's the following page, not the For You page, because the For You page I find is just cesspool of hatred.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Then we have Kit Cassie that sent us a little something at the end of January for a couple of hot chocolates to toast. A remarkable interview today with the senator and celebrate the success of your podcast, where all points of view are welcome for civil discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
dear one. Really appreciate that. We have Kit Vim send us something saying, I appreciate you so much. Kit MK, Mr. Beaver, one of my favorite things you say is fight, 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 fight. I double over in hysteria every time. Takes me back to the 70s. Humor and spreading love will help us all heal, and much love to you and Mr. G. So there we
Thanks,
go.
eh?
We have Kit Queen's Kitty.
There's my blue sky in the chat, if anybody's interested.
Oh, somebody scanned the QR code.
Oh, cool.
We have Kit Queen's Kitty. Keep being awesome and kind. Thank you. That is definitely the plan. Kit Janet goes, thank you for your podcast. I don't always get to watch live anymore, but I still watch every day. Lots of love to both of you with a big heart. Thank you, Kit Janet. We have Kit Rebecca said, thank you for your analysis while sending us a little something. Kit Cassie, once again, you are very, very good to us. Because I want to support unbiased conversations about Canadian current events. Much love to you, lads. Thanks. Thank you. And catching us up to date, Kit Moondimon. Thank you. Thanks for your curation of Canadian news. It's the first thing I listen to when I start work in the morning.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
So, and another scan of the QR code. Well, thank you so much, everyone. So yes, those are our thank yous that we needed to give, and a lot of them overdue for a lot of the tips that were sent to us. Thank you very much. There is still that wonderful letter that we received that I would like to read into the record at one point, but this show has been gone on long enough.
Yeah.
So from the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please. And do you have an ASMR, by the way?
I do, yes. I just put up my QR code there. I will be doing a show this evening at 9 p.m. I'm going to try and stretch it out a little bit longer. Last week I had to hurry because I had work to do afterwards, but I'm going to see if I can stretch it out a little bit longer. Anybody wants to join in, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's 7 a.m. if you're out in Alberta. 7 a.m., 7 p.m. if you're in Alberta. Time difference is not that much. 6 p.m. in British Columbia. So that's Pacific, Mountain, Central. It's 9 p.m. Ontario, 10 p.m. Maritime, 10:30 in Newfoundland. So I understand if you're out east, it might be a little bit harder to tune in. But it's the reason I do it at that time is there was an opening in the schedule, and I thought that's towards the end of my day. I thought a nice time to just sit there and talk about mental health and how we can help each other out and some of the things I do to get me through the tough times when the tough times hit. And the tough times do hit from, on occasion. And hopefully they don't hit too often, but when they do, they hit hard. So I try and give you a calming, soothing voice and a place to talk and chat where you can just, you don't even have to express yourself in the chat. Some people just like to listen, and that's cool. I'm here to try and help you any way I can. And I will be in at 9 p.m. tonight. Yeah. All right.
All right. Mr. Grizzly, please roll the credits.
Let me find them. Oh, there they are. I got them right there. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's them.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
So I did suggest earlier that I had a quick little Easter egg that is a nice thing. some positive words. And I'm going to put this on the screen and I'll read it out for those listening in. And this is from Dan at Velo Veritas. And Dan had this to say. We've been married for 31 years. We've never had kids. We've never collected social assistance. We've never collected EI. We're healthy. And yet, we are happy to pay our taxes so that kids have schools, vulnerable families have support, and healthcare needs don't lead to bankruptcy. And then, of course, you click on the image here. Number 1, quality of life, and number 3, best overall countries. Sweden, the Kingdom of Sweden. Norway, number 2 in quality of life, number 11 in best countries overall. Canada, number 3 in quality of life, number 2 in best countries overall. We're doing okay, kids. Canada isn't broken. There are conservative premiers across the country that are trying to dismantle it, but it's not broken. So let's work together to keep it that way. Let's keep ourselves together.
Yep.
Let's keep working hard.
A couple of broken people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if we work hard together, we can prevent any more breakage from occurring. All right.
Yep.
I'll
I
see you.
concur. All right, kids. Go out there and have a beaverific day.